Hello, my name is Will, and welcome to my EDPM216 video. Throughout this video, we will be exploring the concept of grammar of games and how its core concepts and foundations can be applied within a classroom setting to assist with the transfer of learning. As we can see here in this diagram, each concept links with one another, which allows the learner to identify how learning is occurring and that it can occur in different ways. In this video, we will be conducting an analysis on voluntary run T-ball, or VRT, as it will hereafter be referred to. I will go through the concepts and their sub-concepts where applicable, and I will link them where necessary, identifying how grammar of games can be used as an observational tool in teaching. So, without further ado, let's begin. We can see here in this clip a clear use of strategy and tactics. We can see the fielding team shift their configuration and players in order to try and take advantage of a primary rule. That is, if a pink bib gets a batting pink bib out, the batting team loses 10 runs. We can see the player in the pink bib and black cap at the front of the screen using his resources to direct his teammates around the field. This is changing the effective player space of the whole team. By the player in the bib using both verbal and non-verbal communication, he is also growing his teammates' K-maps. By putting them into new places on the field, they experience the play from a new position, therefore growing their tacit knowledge alongside their K-map. Following this play, we can see a few things here in this next clip. We can see the fielding team now having to abide by the rule of backing up the catcher. This was first set as an action rule to help learners grow and develop their covered play space and their engagement space. An action rule is used as a function to give players and learners, whether they are developing or proficient, a non-verbal cue on when to perform a certain action. Covered play space and posture and position can often be a giveaway of how developed a learner's K-map is or how deep their resources are. If we direct our focus towards second base, we can see a fielder in a pink shirt. And if we look at her covered play space, as opposed to the learner in the black cap and pink bib, we can see a vast difference. The circles on the screen indicate each learner's play space. Through tacit knowledge, we know that he has more of a developed K-map and deeper resources, having participated in this activity previously. However, even if we did not know this, the pink shirt's hands on hips, squared away from the tee, and her engagement space would indicate maybe very little prior experience in a sport like VRT. In between innings, the teams were awarded time to talk over their strategy, and it was established that the less experienced players or the less confident players were happy to be put in the outfield or in places where they would be less likely to receive the ball. This is an example of competency and levels. The whole team had a plan to execute, but each individual had to fulfill their role for that to come to fruition. However, in any circumstance, keeping a beginner or less confident player away from direct play can become harmful to their learning and experience. If they are not involved in the play, they are not being granted a chance to develop and refine their skills. A player can still be put into a safe place where they feel as though they have a comfortable buffer in their confrontational space, yet still actively participate and experience different positions on the field. Now, if we take a look at this screenshot here, we can see the fielding team circled in green. There are 5 people from the fielding team on the left of the screen. They have used the sub-concept of mobility to shift their gameplay configuration to the left. This is a tactical decision that has been made based off a non-verbal cue provided by the batting side, which may be where their hips are facing or where their eyes are facing, and also based off force ratio of where the batting team's players were on the bases. This decision can work against the fielding team depending on where the batting team hits the ball. They too could take advantage of force ratio and opportunity. By the fielding team flooding one side of the field, it opens up the entire other half of the field. especially given that the field in VRT is 180 degrees, not 90 degrees like in baseball, so the chance of a foul ball is a lot less. Now, moving to this screenshot, we can see the batting team has elected to put their two pink bibs into bat first. The strategy and tactics concept is at play heavily here. The first thing we can acknowledge is that in their huddle, they would have discussed competency and chosen the two batters who had the resources and K-map to make it around the bases twice, whether that be experience in striking and fielding games, ability, or something else. They also would have discussed reserve, a plan to hit the ball somewhere in the field which would allow for the batters to make it around the bases. But should that not happen, they would have had a contingency plan in place. As you can see in the clip, where the first batter goes to base 0 due to the ball not travelling that far from the tee. The whole team strategy was to get the two pink batters home. This takes shape in a few different ways, by batters after them hitting the ball into advantageous players for the pink bibs to get bases as opposed to themselves, like you would in baseball. And also the dugout players providing verbal cues as to when to run for the pink bibs in case they miss something. We can also look at this segment of play from the fielder's point of view. We can see they have positioned themselves in such a way that allows for them to be throwing two bases ahead of our batter that they will most likely end up on. We can see that they have no pink bibs on bases 1 or 2. This may be using economy in order to halt the running of the pink bibs on the batting team by having the threat of losing 10 runs on those later bases. This also shows a more developed K-map and deeper resources because they understand that they do not have to get the pink bibs out immediately, as they have to hit all 8 bases in order to make it home and score their 10 runs. Here we can see the sides have now switched and the batting team has reached their final batter. In this play, we will see a large mix of sub-concepts from each concept coming into play. The first one you can see is competency network. This player knows that his role is larger than himself. He most likely could drive the ball far and get himself home, but he understands that his team values getting those pink bib runs and their 20 runs home. So he places the ball in a place where the pink bibs can get home, but he himself will get out. All of this is also an example of levels. The whole team had a plan to get 20 runs, and his plan was to get out and sacrifice himself for the team. On the fielding side of the ball, we can again see evidence of mobility to change the gameplay configuration. They saturate the left side of the field even more so than the previous example. There is one person on the left of the tee. There is one person on the right of the tee. Everyone else is on the left of the screen or on the left of the tee. Two people are close to the tee, so they are abiding by the primary rule of backing up when the ball comes home, so that everyone out in the field doesn't get to come home. This is evidence of cohesion, improving even throughout the innings and gameplay. In this clip here, we can identify 3 learners who are showing uncertain posture and position. They are almost cemented in one spot within the playing field. In the team discussion, these players did not seem confident in their ability, as it is demonstrated by hands on hips, hands behind their backs, and very limited comfort and effective play space. The introduction of the backup action rule was beneficial to these learners as it pulled them into the game more, especially in places where they may not have entered play previously, whether that be due to a smaller K-map, fewer resources, experience, age, or something like what to do without possession. These learners may come from a field territory invasion background where the constant role of play makes it easier to determine what to do when you don't have the ball / aren't near it. Being in an uncertain game is where we need the concept-context approach and find these players' positions that are similar to their background as possible. There may not be one exactly like it, but for example, we could put them up in front of the tee where they know the ball is going to be sent to them at the end of every play. This video here was not in my tutorial, so I have no tacit understanding of the gameplay. However, purely from an observational point of view, there are a few things that can be extracted from this video. Firstly, and most obviously, is our pink batter striking out straight away. Granted that this was most likely a mistake, it is important to remind our learner of a few key sub-concepts, collective strategy being the first. Given that you only need to make one base every time a batter steps in, was it necessary to try and hit it as hard as possible? Next would be resources. Do you have the ability to hit the ball that far in the first place? Or would you be better off bunting it into a gap and stealing zero base? We then see what we can assume is the implementation of reserve, or a backup plan. Now that they only have one pink bib to get home, how will they adjust their strategy? They send the pink bib out straight after. Whether this was always their strategy or was it an on-the-fly tactic? So, this is why the grammar of games approach is so important in PE teaching, because it gives both educators and students alike a shared language for understanding play. Instead of teaching sport separate as a set of drills or isolated skills, the grammar of games helps us break games down to their underlying grammar, or the common structures that all games share: decision making, strategy and tactics, and communication and concentration. When students recognize these transferable concepts, they start to see patterns across different sports and can apply what they've learned from one context to another, or detect, elect, connect theory. This approach doesn't just build better players, it builds better students. Learners become more aware of why they are making certain decisions and why they are doing certain things in play, how their positioning affects space, and how their choices contribute to team success. As teachers, it gives us a framework to design learning experiences that are very purposeful, connected, and inclusive, where every student can experience success regardless of the game being played or regardless of their sporting background. Ultimately, the grammar of games supports deeper understanding, encourages creativity, and strengthens transfer of learning. It transforms PE from a boring series of isolated activities such as soccer, rugby league, netball, to a rich learning environment where students develop genuine game understanding and confidence to adapt, perform, and enjoy movement in different concepts. This concludes my presentation. I hope you enjoyed.